So we discipline for the sake of our kids. It's crucial for the safety, the health of our kids. How many parents have been playing with their kids near the road and Junior starts heading towards the street? Anybody ever had that one? Yeah, what do you do? Oh, that's a bad idea. There's big cars out there. They're moving fast. No, you go and grab that kid. Sometimes, if they do it again, you gotta get it into their head that is out of bounds, off the trail. Whatever. And so you cannot go over there. Why? Not because I just want to be powerful and keep you on the grass. Because if you don't, obey me, you're going to run into a car. Those things win. Everybody with me? Yeah, we discipline the kids for their sakes. And then we discipline for the sake of the parents, too. Read this proverb with me off the screen. It says this. Proverbs 29:17 says this. Discipline your son. Ready? Discipline your son, and he will give you peace. He will bring delight to your soul. Kids, you were wondering, are you sure, Mark? Do you really think God wants my parents to discipline me? Because it's a real pain when they do, Pastor Mark. No, it's really a good thing when they do. Because here's what happens. A disciplined home, a home where expectations are made clear and kept, it's a peaceful home. It's a peaceful home. And everybody wants to live in a peaceful house. No one wants to come home to a house that's constantly in turmoil. When I've come home to my house being in turmoil, I remember this one time distinctly. We had just moved here. We were living in our other house. And I came home. I don't remember where Eleanor was. I don't know if she had run for the hills. I don't remember. But I just remember, and you probably hadn't, babe, but I remember our three kids being in the living room of that little house and me coming in and being like, whoa, it's like World War III had started. And all three children were just off on each other. And they were screaming and yelling and pointing. And so I got right in the middle of the triangle of doom. And I said, what's going on? And so what happens when you do that with your three kids? They all try to out-volume the other person, right? And so they're screaming at me these different versions of the story. And so finally I got frustrated and I said, all right, rooms, which is what I say back then when that was happening. And they all went to their rooms. Now here's what happens a lot of times with parents. We start parenting out of emotion. We get all jacked up, all wired up, and we want to go in and just, clean clocks and, take names and stuff like that. Here's what I like to do. I'm going to have a drink. So I go over to the fridge, I pour me a little milk. And I go to the big chair, and I sit down, and I click me on some college football. And I have me a nice drink. Watch me a little college football. I do that for a half hour. Why? Because they're fine. They're in their rooms. They're stewing. But they're separated. Things are peaceful. It's all good. Finish my milk. All calm now. Not mad, not angry. Go into the rooms. All right. You're first. What do you think happened? Good. Stay here. Next room. What do you think happened? Okay, good. Stay here. Third room. Ben's room. Well, Dad, I wasn't involved at all, but I was just trying to help, All right, whatever. All right, everybody in the hall. So they're all in that, the hall, and I'm like, all right, what has your mom always told you? Love and protect. Because Eleanor has always told these kids, when it comes to each other, you love each other and you protect each other. So when I came in, were you doing that with each other? No. So should you have been doing? Yes. Is there anybody that owes anybody an apology? Just wait for it. Why don't you start? Kai, I'm sorry I hit you with your Barbie. How about you, Kai? Cooper, I'm sorry I called you a booger. Or whatever, all right? What about you, Ben? I didn't do anything wrong. Try, Ben. I'm sorry you guys got in a fight. No, but you let everybody just kind of get it all out. And then here's what happens. When you have those moments, when kids pay for their bad choices, they got to sit in their rooms, when they have time to stew on it, and then you have a nice, hey, let's figure this out, come to some kind of consensus. The rest of the afternoon, beautiful. Everybody was fine, everything was forgiven, and off we go. Some families never get to that. Some parents are passive, and they just like, oh, hey, if you're going to fight, just go in the other room. What? Go in the other room? Your point in this family is not for your own peace and quiet, Mom and Dad. Your point in this family is to shape those little humans to become the adults that they're going to take whatever you let them produce in these moments into their families. into their marriages. You want your house to be the training ground for their combat in the future? No. So we need to discipline. And when we do discipline and we do it well, then peace comes to us. Selfishly speaking, I like that. So, how do parents discipline their kids? These last two things I'll get to today, so let's just listen to these real well. And I like to think of these in terms of like a football team. There's the practice schedule, the times where the plays are put in and kids learn how to play the game, and then there's game day. The practice schedule for me would be the teaching part of our discipline. Kids cannot be held accountable for things that they do not know. There has to be time where we as parents impart to them wisdom, and we share with them the expectations that we have for our household. They cannot be held accountable for things that they do not know. And there are constructive and better ways for us to teach them. At the time of conflict, that's not always the best time to teach them the things that they need to know about how to live in our houses. They need to know it before conflict arises. So that's the teaching part. Game day, that's the discipline part, where we say to them, hey, I have to correct you. You've gone against the plays. You've gone against the things that we've set as a standard, and I have to bring you back into line. You're out of the game. That's called grounding. You have to run laps. That's whatever, you with me? These are the two things that we must do. The scriptures teach it here in Proverbs chapter 6. If you have your Bibles, you can turn there. That's where I'm going to spend the rest of my time. But in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 20 and 21, it says this about teaching our kids wisdom. My son, and real quick about Proverbs. Proverbs is a letter that Solomon, the king, who was given wisdom by God himself, it's a letter that he writes to his sons. It's his wisdom and sayings that he is passing down to his princes as King Solomon. And so he says it right here, my son. He's literally saying these things to one of his kids, just like you and I need to say God's wisdom to our kids. He's saying, my son, keep your father's commands and do not forsake your mother's teachings. He says, bind them upon your heart forever and fasten them around your neck. You know what women used to do back then to put on perfume? It wasn't, or whatever. They would take a leather strap, they would get a little pouch, and they would go to the market. They would get spices, aromas that they enjoyed, and they would take that and make like a little potpourri bag, and they'd jam it all down in that pouch and then tie it up around a nice piece of leather, and then they'd hang that from their neck. It was like their perfume, their aroma. In later years, men and women, when they had pictures or keepsakes of each other, anybody have a locket that they hang around their neck, and inside it you can open it up and see a picture of someone? They would hang that around their neck so that those things could be kept close to their heart. So here's this picture that Solomon's given. He said, hey, all my wisdom to you is like the aroma of your life. If you want to have a good smell in life, comply with my wisdom. Stick with the things that I teach you. Let this be the thing that exudes from your life. In the same way, he says, hey, take all your mother's teachings, take my teachings, and treasure them. Make them like the subject of the locket that's hanging from your neck, and keep them close to your heart. You know, that's what made a locket, is that it hung around your neck, and that person's picture was close to that heart. And so it was a symbol of you having a heart for those. So he's saying, hey, have a heart for the things that I'm teaching you here. Bind them around your neck. He says, let me teach you the truth so that you can live out the truth. Now, let me say a couple things about us teaching our kids the truth. It's not just going to happen. We have to be intentional with it. So many of you are sitting here this morning, you put your kids over in our children's ministry. That is a great supplemental act of teaching for our kids. But don't settle for our children's ministry as being the only way that your kids hear about God and how they're supposed to live in life. That, my friends, as parents, is your department. We will gladly supplement you as a church. We want to, as we talked about this morning with these families, we want to partner with you in covenant in raising these kids up. But the primary in this situation is you, mom and dad. You'll be held accountable before God as to the things that you trained your kids up in. So take it seriously. Carve time out. Dads, all the dads in the house, raise your hands. Let's talk. All right, I'm going to talk to you for a second.